Should be better. Awesome. So we still work with Formula One. We do all the in-car radios, pit crews, officiating, all that stuff. So it's been a great relationship throughout the years. There's been some other events, as you can see on the screen. Most notably the Artist System, MeteorNet, and then kind of into the next generation. One that stands out was our Bolero, the introduction to the wireless belt pack that really kind of put us on the map as a main provider of intercom. It really set the standard for what wireless belt packs should be in the industry, and we're very proud of that. Some other notable events more recently was the acquisition of Simplified in 2022. We'll cover that a little bit more today on what those products help with, and as well as it's not currently on the screen, but very recently Thomas Riedel acquired the RE Group. So that was the latest acquisition, so we're excited to welcome them, welcome them to the family and kind of see what we can do together. Lastly, just a little bit more by the numbers. We are a global company. We do over 3,000 events per year, have over 1,000 employees. And the last thing I like to touch on is we have 250 plus engineers, and that shows our commitment to innovation and where the future is going in our industry. Thomas is known for not being satisfied unless something is perfect. We're always working towards what do our clients want, where are we going, because that ultimately dictates what we build, is what our clients want to see and what's on their roadmap needs to be on what needs to be on our roadmap. So, simplifying traditional productions, what does that kind of look like? Well, there's the goal and there's the reality of productions, and as an engineer by trade, I know that there's always the goal of a simple workflow, communication with your entire team. Is everyone on party lines? Are they on point to point? Can you talk with your whole crew? Do you have a staff that's confident? And we'd love to limit the show day surprises. That's not a real thing, but that is a goal. When you go through rehearsal, you think that's how the show is going to go. Now, the reality is that there's multiple teams, multiple systems. You always have last-minute changes somehow. Communication does break down. No matter how great the infrastructure is, somehow you always end up using your cell phone or texting or calling someone. And this does lead to stress instead of confidence. So, how do we kind of avoid that and turn the goal into the reality? Well, here at Riedel, we kind of break it into 3 key pillars in what we see as solid production. It starts with unified communication. Does everyone have access to communicate with one another? Are they able to do their job properly with the information that's given to them? We then move on to a unified signal flow. Does everyone have access to the content they need to? Or you have isolated systems? For example, is audio in its own world? Is video in its own world? Is data in its own world? Right now, that's kind of the challenge in our industry. We really want things to work together. We want to have a streamlined network where everything is accessible, whether that's throughout the arena, throughout a campus, an office park, whatever it may be. Lastly is the unified content creation. And this is kind of more what we'll touch on a little bit later today, but this is all about, do your products work for you versus against you? Are the UIs very user-friendly? Is the information in front of you? Or do you have to go through a million different secret menus to do some simple task that's show critical? And this is really what Riedel tries to strive themselves on, is by creating tools that work for you and limit those stressful moments when there are the show day surprises. The products are streamlined. So we kind of start with unified communication. What does that typically look like? Well, we throw in an artist frame. So that's our decentralized intercom system that is scalable for a big or small production. It's built for the production environment with its low latency and superior audio quality. So the result here is now everyone can communicate with each other, whether that's the front of house, that's your lighting team, your audio, your video, your producers, wherever it may be. They all have access to one intercom system that can be distributed out throughout the campus or arena. Now, for those staff members that are roaming and you don't want to do the cell phone method, we recommend Bolero. So that's our wireless belt pack system with our proprietary ADR deck technology that is very interference resistant. Because in our industry, there's a lot of noise. Especially now with 5G becoming a thing, we are developing a new update that's going to really limit the 5G interference we're seeing in larger stadiums. What's great about these as well is they support 1 to 6 channels, so you kind of have access to all you need when you're an operator that's roaming around the show. And when you put these two products together, you kind of take care of that communication pillar, where you start with a team that's working together, all has the same cues, and can do their job confidently. Now, then we move on to unified signal flow, excuse me. So this is definitely a challenge in our industry because we've been so used to one isolated control room where everything comes back, and that's kind of what we've been told, but Riedel tries to break that boundary with MeteorNet. So that's a decentralized routing system that's IP-based, and it can be scaled up or down based on how much channel density you need, how many signals you have coming in via audio, data, video, whatever it may be. And what's great is that it's decentralized, meaning you don't have to have everything come back to one place. So if you took like an arena, for example, you could have your top level, mid-level, low level all have servers that create one big network. And this does streamline operation because you don't need to invest heavy in your infrastructure to bring everything into one place. You can kind of be a little bit more sporadic, and then you can also be a little more creative with your camera deployment. Just overall, your kind of creativity can go up. And this can all then be controlled by HI, which is our centralized router control software. And what's great about HI is that everything's in front of you. It's built with the engineer in mind, and it's URL based. So you can have access to it anywhere. You don't need to necessarily be on a specific computer in your control room, which is great for engineers that are roaming a campus or roaming an arena. They have access to their tools 24/7. Now, if you wanted to grow that infrastructure and you wanted to do more REMI productions, this is where Venue Gateway would come in. So Venue Gateway is our SRT gateway that can bring content no matter wherever you are. Whether that's a remote campus, remote arena, you need to bring that content back to your control room. This is a great tool for that. So now when you combine these two tools together, now you have an infrastructure that gives you access to that content no matter where you are, but it gives you access to content in a streamlined fashion where your staff is confident. Now we get to the unified content creation. This is kind of where I spend most of my time at Riedel, is working with these products. So right now in our industry, we're faced with a little bit of a challenge. That challenge is that content demand is going up, while the cost of creating the content is going up. So how do we kind of achieve a better solution for that? Well, in order to know where we're going, we need to know where we currently are. So on average, there's about 12 people it takes in the typical traditional control room. You have your producers, your director, your TD, couple of graphics ops, assistant producer, your audio team, couple of replay ops, and your video team. And this is kind of an average based on the overall general amount of shows. Now this works great. You can produce very high quality content. You know what the standard's going to be. You know what your outcome's going to be. However, there's some limitations. When you need to turn over rooms, create more content, the limitations are that a lot of gear has to work together. You have to make sure this staff is available to work 24/7, and that causes definitely some headaches. Now, if you need to expand this, it costs a lot of money to do additional control rooms. So there has to kind of be a better way. And unfortunately, right now, sometimes the better way in our industry is to scale back things a little too far. You'll kind of do a single camera show, in this case a high home show, some inserted graphics, and you'll kind of call it a day just because you don't want to spin up your entire control room. However, that's where Simplified comes into play. So Simplified is a software-driven production suite where one server can do many things. So you can have your live switching application, your replay ops, all on one server. And it's a touchscreen based interface, so it's very easy to use, very easy to learn, and it's scalable. And what's great about this is that it's developed to kind of make your control room a content factory. And that can be really helpful in this day and age where content is very in high demand, and we also don't want to limit the quality. Because that's the biggest thing right now, is that we all want to scale up and do more content, but how do you make sure you don't sacrifice the quality that we're used to on all these streaming sites? So a little bit more about how this works and how Simplified works. So there's one backend with up to 3 users, and you select basically what application you're running. So in this case, you'd have one user be the live production switcher, then you have the next user be a replay op, and then your third user would be either another replay op or a video review if you wanted to do kind of a all-in-one bundle for, let's just say, a soccer game. You'd have basically all 3 users be ready to go off of one hardware. And then on top of that, it's technically not a user within Simply Live, but you do have like a 4th user that can only be the ingest and playout. So you can basically take in your ingest, or your content, excuse me, send that to your local NAS, or send that to even, you could also kind of loop in, loop out, and then take your program and then send it to an RTMP stream for streaming or wherever it may need to go. So now if you kind of shuffle the deck a little bit and reimagine the control room, now you take those same 12 people, you shuffle them around, break them into groups of 3 on each a Simply Live server, and you expand what their typical job looks like. So instead of just being a director, now you're learning to be a TD. So it gives you a lot more flexibility in your career. You're not isolating yourself so much. And you kind of reimagine what a control room looks like. And I'll show you a good example once we're near the end. Now, if you don't want to kind of do the all-in-one, we do also offer the products in individual bundles. We start with our recapture system. It's our multi-channel ingest system for video, audio content. What's great about this is that it supports loop recording. So when you turn on the server, it already starts recording. You can go back in time, schedule things, and clip off things, whatever content you're looking for, to then send that to your local NAS. I mean, it can stay on the centralized server for as long as you want, as long as you have the bandwidth and the terabytes. But what's great is you send that to your local NAS, takes all the metadata, and you're ready to go. And it's a very user-friendly approach. It's not hard to learn. It's meant to be streamlined so multiple operators can pick it up. You don't need to have isolated staff members that only know how to use this product. It's very user-friendly. We then go to our remotion. That's our replay system. So what's great about this, it's a multi-channel replay system that with a touchscreen interface. And I like to kind of say that it is a traditional workflow that we're all used to with some of the more popular brands out there, but with more modern enhancements. And for example, some of those modern enhancements we're very proud of are when you have like your 6 cameras on your multi-viewer and you go to scrub, it scrubs all 6 channels at the same time. So then when you go to take the clip you made, you can load that clip and it'll load all the other 6 channels, and if you didn't clip off the preferred angle that the producer wanted, you just send that angle that they want to program and it's ready to go. So you don't have to necessarily create 6 different clips. You just create really one moment in time, go back to that, and then basically send it off as the team wants in the control room. You are allowed to have a remote. It's very similar to some of the other products out there, and it's a very streamlined approach to replay. It's meant to be, again, I'm going to kind of repeat myself, but it's meant to be user-friendly. It's meant to, Riedel noticed that there was a lot of great tools out there, but they were getting a little complicated, and Thomas likes to make things available to everyone. He doesn't want to have people be isolated in the tools they use. He wants them to have access to, if they want to be a replay op one day or a TD the next, the tools are built for them to learn those products. Lastly is our referee review. Now, this is a centralized sports officiating review system, and what's great about this is that you can have up to 3 users. So if you had your officiating team, you could have a coach on either side of the teams. You could have only one coach, and you could have a broadcasting team have a review system. It's very flexible. It's meant to scale up or down. And this is a little bit more, there's not too many bells and whistles for the reason of that the people who typically use review systems don't have a technical background. We want it to be where they come up, they're comfortable, there's multiple layouts they can select from, where everything is right at their fingertips. And again, if they just take their finger, scroll on one camera, it'll scroll however many channels you have up on your layout all at the same time. So it's super easy to make the right call in a quick environment. You don't have to, call someone to say, put this on the screen. Everything is right at your fingertips. Now, when everything comes together and you kind of take the more modern approach of a control room, you get what I'm about to show you. So we currently work with the EFL, which is the English Football League. And if you're not familiar, there's really, there's multiple tiers, but really there's top 4 tiers. There's the Premier League, which is the top of the top, like Manchester United. Then there's this Champion League, League 1, and League 2. So whereas before where they'd roll trucks for all these leagues, do all the games, for the Champions League, League 1, and League 2, they use Simplified. They take all the content, they send it back to Stockley Park, UK, and they create little hubs in an office building where they're running roughly 30 Simplified servers, and they'll basically turn over the rooms within a matter of 30 minutes and just repeat games. They do about 1,500 games a year, and on average, Champions League, which is, if you're familiar with soccer, where the Wrexham team is currently in, they're averaging about 3 to 500,000 viewers per week, and the League 1 and League 2 are hovering around like 250. So it's definitely some high-end content that needs to be produced, and they're all doing it with Simply Live. But the video will do a great job of showing that. Oop.
IMG is a post-production company. We basically look after the technical side of the EFL production. From that perspective, we look after all of the feeds coming into the building and all the feeds going out to the clients and the broadcasters. The EFL operation is basically the 2nd, 3rd and 4th tier of English football. We're connected into all of those stadiums. We then take from League 2 2 single feeds, from League 1 4 single feeds, and from the Championship we take 6 feeds. So that entire operation is 1,800 games approximately, and our job is to necessarily get that out into a polished program for broadcasters and the clients themselves.
Sort of engineering or technical, the decision was made to use Simply Live. The sort of scale and concurrency of the games means it's a far more financially savvy way of doing it, to produce that amount of games concurrently, for us to put a stadium installation in, to bring the cameras back remotely, individual cameras brought back into the facility here at Stockley Park, and then spread around this big production facility that you see with something in the region of 38 Simply Lives.
When we looked at how to do gallery operations before, we would have needed a separate vision mixer, a separate sound desk, a separate replay, a separate graphics. Now we've necessarily shrunk that down into a real estate is probably half the size, maybe a 1/3 of the size. And we've done that at the same time of not making it aware that the fan at the home can tell the difference. So from an efficiency point of view, there's multiple areas you can necessarily look at that from. From a sustainability point of view, I challenge anybody to find a production that does as much sustainable work that we do in delivering the same level of quality. I would say that if I was to take a similar operation and do it in a traditional way, I probably would need 4 times or 5 times the rack space that we've associated with the EFL operation as we speak.
Our directors that have come from that traditional background in OBs with much more or many more cameras, up to 10 to 20 cameras, where those camera operators have the traditional job. They're really leaning into that new kind of way of thinking.
We started with Simply Live as a replay and then a replay direct and setup. So I would build the closers, I would build highlights and do replays live within the match. And to be able to do all of that in a system that was straight in front of you instead of going into menus and having to deal with that, we found it was really easy to bring new people in to teach them as well, because it was quite user friendly.
Having things like the graphics all there and the replay, even for a single camera, you've got a specific place where you're looking for it, and it all kind of flows. And I think that builds, especially when you're starting with just on the ground level with a single camera and moving up, that process actually felt very intuitive, despite the fact that it can feel conceptually quite overwhelming to just be, right, this is just me.
You're learning different skills, you're able to tell stories really quickly and effectively and learn it possibly within a day if you want to. And I think that accessibility allows for anyone from any background to be able to be involved in broadcasting, especially on this production, because we're doing so many matches and the guys are really keen on bringing people through that really want to learn, that maybe don't have a broadcast background, maybe have a football background, or just don't know that this is something they can do. Simply Live makes it accessible to people.
It just puts everything to your fingertips. It's so much easier to teach somebody when you can sit there, you can put a feed going and you can chop it through. The resources that you would need to do to train somebody up on a live gallery or an OB truck are just huge. Here I could walk in and we could get a hyperdeck going and we can be training someone in 10 minutes. And from there, by the afternoon, I could teach them how to do a replay. And then I could teach them how to cut the cameras. Within 48 hours, we could probably have them doing a game, and if I felt they were ready to do it. And you just wouldn't be able to do that anywhere else.
We're challenged by the EFL in terms of how far we push the technology, and I think we kind of challenge it. We're slaving 2 feeds out and allows us to put commercial inventory on 1 feed. We are delivering RTMPs out for betting partners, and we're delivering all of the angles of the games post-match for clubs, for broadcasters, for the PGMOL to review their refereeing. We're pulling 2-minute highlights out of it. Everything's still driven out of Simply Live.
The great news that is recently there was an article in The Athletic where Sky had said that their viewership has gone up 33%. And I do think the Simply Live operation has been key to that. Choosing Riedel again was a no-brainer. If anything, I felt the competitors had taken a step back, where I felt Riedel was still pushing boundaries.
I think it's fair to say that we love it, and lots of our directors and our replay operators love it, and yeah, here's to see what the next sort of 5 years produces.
So that's all I had for you today from Riedel, but happy to answer any questions you have. We do have a laptop over at our booth. Happy to give demos, play around with it, try to break it, do whatever you want. But yeah, thank you for all coming.